Yo, I've been waiting such a long time to say this. If you have psoriasis, I know what you're going through. And I know your doctors have wanted to put you on medication, but you found out that the side effects of that medication are possibly cancer. And I know you've been trying everything for so long, but for me, it's been 10 long years I've been trying everything to figure out how to heal from psoriasis, and it's super stubborn. But today on this episode of Heal Thyself, I'm gonna give you the latest research on what works and what doesn't, what has helped my patients and ultimately myself. So your support is finally here in healing from psoriasis on this episode of Heal Thyself. All right, so if you have psoriasis, my heart goes out to you. It's not a joke. It is a lot. And I know I don't want to wear this in public. My psoriasis is really bad today. It can be super itchy. It can really affect your mental health. I know, and we know in medicine that psoriasis is connected to mental health issues like depression and anxiety. So I'm there with you for sure. And I know what it all entails. But in this episode, I really want to go over the importance of understanding what's happening. And this is something that your dermatologist or rheumatologist should be doing with you from the get-go. So you really understand the full picture. What's the prevalence of psoriasis? What are the different types? What are some really important points to understand all the way from diagnosis to medication? Why does it happen? What are some of the triggers for psoriasis? What are some of the foods to avoid? What are some of the foods that help psoriasis? We want to get the big picture on this issue. So psoriasis is a prevalent autoimmune skin condition. It affects almost 7.5 million people in the United States. And it can occur almost at any age, but it's usually diagnosed in adults. A lot of you listening, it's probably been diagnosed for you when you were an adult. And there's a higher incidence around the age of 45 to 64. Now, about 80% of those affected have mild to moderate psoriasis, but actually 20% suffer from moderate to severe forms, and moderate to severe forms can cover 5% or more of the body. Psoriasis presents as thick, red patches. Most common characteristic symptom is the silver white scales. And these plaques can be itchy, they can be painful. They're in the elbows, they're in the knees, they're in the scalps, lower back, face, palms, soles of the feet. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Scalp psoriasis can be existent to red, itchy areas of the scalps. They can extend beyond the hairline. There could be flaking, there could be dandruff. You can get it on your nails. It could be pits on the nails. There could be discoloration. You can have breaking or crumbling or separation of the nails. There's guttate psoriasis. These are small drop-like lesions. They're on the trunks and limbs of the scalp. There's inverse psoriasis, which are smooth red lesions, but they're usually found in the skin folds like the armpits or the groin or under the breast. They may be mistaken for candida or even eczema. You can have it around the genitals, the buttocks. There's also pustular psoriasis, which are like white blisters. They're filled with pus. They're surrounded by red skin. There's erythrodermic psoriasis. That's widespread redness all over the body. It looks like a burn, actually. And there's psoriatic arthritis, which actually causes joint pain and swelling. Inflammation of the joints can have stiffness, pain, and even joint damage. But it's important to understand, it actually affects 2 to 3% of the United States population. There's a lot of people that suffer with psoriasis, and it can develop at any age. The peaks usually are around 20 to 30, 50 to 60 years old. And those common forms that I mentioned are usually that plaque psoriasis. That's like 80 to 90% of the psoriasis pattern that we see. Those are the red raised patches. They're silver, they're white. That probably, if you're listening, it's most likely you've had this one. But it's not just psoriasis. There's a lot of comorbidities, meaning there's a lot of issues connected to psoriasis. Psoriasis is actually associated with increase in cardiovascular disease, metabolic syndrome, type 2 diabetes, and depression. And approximately 25 to 30% of people who have psoriasis will develop that psoriatic arthritis that I mentioned before. And that's a joint inflammation that can actually lead to significant disability if it's untreated. There's a big economic burden. 51.7 billion to 63.2 billion healthcare costs are around psoriasis. It is significant. And you, I promise you, are not the only one. And it can affect your quality of life. A lot of you listening and viewing know exactly what I'm talking about. Your physical health, your emotional health, your social well-being. It can be moderate one day, it could be severe the other day, and that's going to impact a lot of your health, especially your mental health, with higher rates of anxiety and depression, as I mentioned. So yeah, over the years, there's been big advances in treatment, right? Recent years, we've seen advancements in certain biologics and targeted therapies. They include inhibitors that target very specific pathways like TNF-alpha, the interleukins like IL-17 and 23. They have improved efficacy and better safety, relatively speaking. Some of the therapies are injectable. Some are oral, like PDE4 inhibitors, TYK2 blockers. They've shown promise in clinical trials. But I want to drive something home about the biologics and the targeted therapies for psoriasis. There is a cost benefit that needs to be done, and you need to make a real decision with these because there's a real risk, elevated risk for cancer. Doesn't mean you're going to get cancer if you take these, but you're at risk for them. And that's significant. We absolutely need to speak about that. Your doctor needs to tell you, or the nurse practitioner needs to tell you, they need to go through the full rundown. The TNF alpha inhibitors, they're affecting your immune system. They're depleting your immune system. The whole point of these medicines is to deplete your immune system so it's not overactive. But remember, autoimmune disease isn't just a immune system that is mistakenly targeting you. The body doesn't make mistakes. So let's keep that in mind. But when you take these medicines, and I think about one time I was talking to this doctor, super conventional, old guy, so, maybe 85 years old. I don't even know why he was still practicing. Really by the book. He had his suit hanging up on the door. He was wearing the tie. He was really buttoned up doctor. And we were talking about psoriasis. And I had no idea he would have any opinion other than what's by the book. But I remember he said, those psoriasis medicines, stay away from them. And he goes, they're toxic. And I was like, this old school doctor who graduated, I don't know, 1920 something, is telling me to stay away from the biologics. That's pretty radical to say as a doctor, going against the grain, but shout out to him because it's true. They are toxic. And I'm not here to tell you get off of them. I'm not here to tell you not to take them. I'm here to tell you to make a decision based on all of the evidence, right? You have to know everything before you just do it. A lot of doctors are like, I remember I went to a rheumatologist and he's like, here are your 5 choices, what you can take. He's at least given me like the side effects of some of them. He's like, these are the ones that cause cancer. Here's the ones that don't cause cancer, but here are the ones that can really affect your immune system, predisposing you to things like tuberculosis, upper respiratory infections, pneumonias, really significant stuff, right? Some of them up to 29% of people who take these suffer from respiratory infections that are chronic. Up to 25% of the people have thinning hair on these medications, nauseas, headaches, and other major symptoms. So it's like you're trading something. Yes, it's healing it, quote unquote, or it's reducing that inflammation to that place, but it's bringing that inflammation somewhere else, right? It's never foolproof. And we have to understand that about medications before I go on. I don't care what autoimmune disease you have. We have to think about medications. They will quiet something, but they'll make something else louder in the body. You're robbing Peter to pay Paul. No medication is perfect, right? No medication is perfect. They are shutting something down, and there's always a compensation mechanism. And the body follows a specific set of rules in healing. One of those is you can't just shut off the compensation that the body's trying to do to survive. What that means is we can't just give medication and turn something off and not expect a side effect. And usually these side effects that we see in medications are just effects that they can't market, right? But it's not just oral medications. A lot of dermatologists will recommend topical corticosteroids, vitamin D3 analogs that you can use, topical retinoids, topical NSAIDs to reduce the inflammation, topical emollients to just soothe the inflammation. They might be recommending UVA or UVB light, even more sun exposure. But again, there's also side effects to these. It can go anywhere from skin burning to increased skin itching. Some of these can put you at risk of skin cancer and lymphoma for the long term, right? So nothing's perfect. Usually it's diagnosed clinically. They may do a biopsy, but you can kind of tell it's psoriasis. And then they usually recommend either the topical or the oral medication. But psoriasis is an inflammatory skin disease. It's T-cell mediated. And I want you to understand this. We won't go crazy into the science, but at least you should understand what's happening in your body or the body of a loved one. It's a cell-mediated immune response. That means that the destruction of infected cells are by cytotoxic T cells. Now, usually these cytotoxic T cells, it's a type of immune cell that you have, are destroying intracellular pathogens, right? Bacteria especially. So they're targeting them, killing them, boom. And macrophages are eating them up. What happens is these cells are actually targeting your body for one reason or the other, right? And it causes something called hyperkeratosis or parakeratosis. And there's an imbalance in the T cells called the CD4 T cells. And they are causing rampant inflammation via interleukins and cytokines. These are inflammatory proteins, and they're specific to the skin cells, right? They're targeting the cells that produce keratin in the body, the keratinocytes. And they're dying, they're exploding, and then they're activating. They're killing them, they're activating. They're killing, some are activating. And what is happening is it's causing this pathophysiology of just this turnover and growth, turnover and growth, turnover and growth. And what's happening is your skin cells are just growing too fast, and they're becoming patchy in certain specific parts of the body. Now, that's important to understand, like what's going on. I tried to make it as simple as possible. But really, even more important to understand is what's causing it and what's driving it. Well, one is infections. Streptococcal throat infections are usually driving, they could actually be the reason why psoriasis starts for many people. You may not know that maybe strep is the reason why you have psoriasis. And we need to talk about that more, right? Maybe your immune system was already under a lot of stress, and then the strep kind of boiled over that pot, but it also can be aggravated by something like an upper respiratory infection. A lot of you know that when you get sick, your psoriasis gets worse, right? Cold or flu. There could be a skin infection, like a fungal or bacterial infection that makes your psoriasis worse. Even things like cuts and scrapes. How many of you have had a like pretty bad cut somewhere, and then your psoriasis gets worse? It's like your immune system is on hyper alert, which we're going to go into a little bit later, actually. Sunburn. We know that severe sunburn can exacerbate psoriasis, even things like vaccinations and injections. Stress is the really big one, emotional stress. We're going to go into that a little bit later, but emotional stress, and I think it's actually a major root why it's perpetuated. The physical stress, major one, even like if it's really hot or cold outside. Yes, the weather can actually affect that too. Not getting enough UV light in the winter months absolutely can make it worse. But for some of you, getting too much sunlight can make it worse. Lithium, these medications, the beta blockers, the anti-malarials, the NSAIDs, like the Advils and the Motrins of the world, antivirals like interferons, ACE inhibitors. If you're on those and you have psoriasis and no one ever told you that those medications could be causing them, you got to go talk to your doctor right now. Lifestyle factors, of course, we would think smoking and alcohol drinking consumption is going to make it way worse. We know that diet can flare it up. I'm going to go into what foods in a minute. Hormonal changes too. Menopause can make it worse. Puberty can make it worse. Pregnancy can make it worse. Obesity can make it worse. Certain allergies, right? Whether it's to your internal or outside environment, can make it worse. And chemicals, for sure. At-home environmental chemicals, harsh irritants, the molds of the world, the chemicals that are coming from your couch or your bed or your cleaning supplies, or even perfumes, fragrances, for sure can make psoriasis worse. But let's talk about foods. Some foods you really need to consider are actually removing things like red meat or processed meats, beef or porks or bacon, sausage, hot dogs, deli meats. These foods are actually high in saturated fats that can cause increased inflammation in the body already, but they're also high in omega-6s. Arachidonic acid is a type of fat that can be converted into those inflammatory compounds that I mentioned before in the body that are already in high amounts when you have psoriasis. And many psoriatic patients appear to have too much arachidonic acid in their body, a lot of omega-6s in the body, not too much omega-3s. And there's been a lot of improvements for these people who go on fasting or lower meat diets for a reason. It's because they're particularly sensitive to those omega-6s. So if you haven't yet, like what foods are making you feel better? What foods are making you feel worse? Open up, buy a new notebook and start writing in a journal and start figuring out. If you're a tech person, write on a computer, write on your phone. But really figure out what foods are making you better or worse within 3 to 6 hours after eating them. Also, things like dairy products, milk, cheese, yogurt, ice cream, butter. Dairy are also high in saturated fats, which are going to promote more inflammation, right? We don't talk, everyone's like, oh, saturated fats are fine. They're not fine. They're not fine in high amounts. Right? Like we're eating too much. And now as we move towards carnivore and more meat heavy, and so many people are so pro, that their bodies are inflamed, and they don't even know it, right? Not everyone can tolerate saturated fats, and there's different genetic mutations that actually, if you have it, you can't tolerate saturated fat almost at all. You have to have a low saturated fat diet. So this is all bio-individuality coming to the surface, and we got to talk about it more. But some individuals may actually have a sensitivity to allergies. Think about it. Is that you? Gluten, I know that's me for sure. Gluten always makes my psoriasis worse without fail. Wheat, barley, rye, foods containing grains like breads, pastas, baked goods, right? Gluten in itself can trigger an inflammatory response in people who are sensitive and can activate a lot of these psoriasis processes, especially when it's calmed down, it can reignite it. Alcohol, big one. If you're drinking and you have psoriasis, it's one of the first things you need to move out. Alcohol is a forest fire in the whole body. Psoriasis already has enough inflammation. Alcohol is going to increase that, right? So I would actually say, think about removing alcohol as one of the first things. Obviously, the processed and refined sugars, the sweets, the candies, pastries, sodas, sugary drinks. We know, I know, and you know that high sugar almost exclusively leads to a psoriasis outbreak or worsened psoriasis the next day, for sure. So think about how much sugar is going to be in your food, how much it's sneaking in your food, added sugary foods, added processed foods. Now, here's one that not a lot of people think about, especially when they have psoriasis. Maybe you thought about it, but tomatoes, potatoes, eggplants, peppers, these nightshade vegetables, they actually have a compound called solanine, and it's believed that it actually can trigger inflammation in the body, especially if you have psoriasis. It can cause one of the flare-ups. There's not enough true evidence around this, but forget the evidence. Listen to your body, right? What's the evidence of you? What is true for you? It always comes back to what is true for you. Don't listen to my nutritional recommendations if they're not true for you. What's true for your body? Your body trumps anything I say, and certainly anyone online says. So fried or fatty foods for sure. I know this to be true for most people, maybe not you. Getting rid of that, again, high in saturated fats, increasing inflammation in the body, increasing weight gain, increasing psoriasis. We already know that obesity and weight gain is connected to it. High salt foods. A lot of people don't think about a lot of salt in the body, but excessive salt intake can actually lead to fluid retention, which can increase inflammation, and high salt levels can also strain the kidney, the cardiovascular system, which potentially can be worsening psoriasis. That's something for you to think about. How does salt affect you? And also different condiments. I found that vinegar-based condiments, psoriasis is worse. Hot sauces, psoriasis is worse. And I hate that because I love hot sauce. Chili powder, I love chili powder. I love it on everything. Psoriasis is worse, right? So start thinking about what condiments. A lot of you don't even think about. You've removed all of those highly sugary, highly processed foods, but don't really think about what condiments are going into your food. So think about it, especially if you're eating out a lot. All right, let me talk about gummies. Organifi Shilajit gummies. I know you're thinking gummies for adults to promote energy and health. Yeah, it actually does exist. These gummies are no joke. They're not just sweet gummy stuff with low therapeutic potential. And this is one of my favorite ones by Organifi. Shilajit is an ancient adaptogenic superfood. It's been used for centuries in places like the Himalayas for incredible revitalizing properties. It's packed with fulvic and humic acid and over 40 trace minerals. It's a powerhouse, especially for your mitochondria. You're generating a lot of energy on it. Now, ever since I've been taking Organifi Shilajit gummies, I've noticed a serious boost in my energy levels, endurance. Whenever I'm hitting the gym, and you know I've been going there more and more, it's been my athletic stronghold, one of my favorite things, one of my top ones for sure. It's incredible. And get this, it's actually helping support healthy testosterone levels. Men and women, we both need healthy testosterone levels to promote the anti-aging benefits of keeping our muscle, reducing belly fat. But what sets Organifi Shilajit gummies apart is that they're the only ones who've managed to pack in all the potent goodness of pure Shilajit into a serious, delicious, convenient gummy form. Each serving gives you a hefty dose of 250 milligrams of that good stuff without any of the heavy metal contaminants that plague a lot of Shilajit out there. I've been loving how easy Shilajit is being integrated into my day. I actually look forward to chewing on the gummies. It's protecting my cells from oxidative stress, boosting my vitality, and giving me a better sense of overall well-being. If you want your cells to be thanking you, go to OrganifiShop.com/DRG to get some Shilajit. Use the code DRG to get 20% off. That is OrganifiShop.com/DRG. Use the code DRG for 20% off. You know I prioritize clean, pure, high quality ingredients in my life. I'm super picky about the supplements that I take, especially omega-3s. We know the oceans are highly polluted with a lot of nasty chemicals, including heavy metals. A lot of the fish are eating potent and heavy metals. A lot of the fish oils are concentrating those heavy metals into a capsule that we take, and it's not even regulated. Puori's O3 Ultra Pure Fish Oil is my go-to for getting a premium potent dose of EPA and DHA omega-3s. What I love about Puori is their commitment to purity, potency, and transparency. Each batch of their products is tested by third-party labs against 200 different contaminants, so I know I'm getting incredibly clean, fresh fish oil. It is certified by the Clean Label Project, and it's got a 5 out of 5 star rating in the IFOS, International Fish Oil Standards Organization, for purity and freshness. You open that box, you're gonna see a QR code, you're gonna see the test results for that batch. How transparent is that company? That's incredible stuff. We only love that at Heal Thyself. I take Puori's O3 every single day, morning and afternoon, 2,000 milligrams of long-chain omega-3s, supporting my brain, my eyes, my heart. One of the best studied supplements that you can take is fish oils without the nasty burps or any of that oxidative stuff in there. And I'm avoiding rancidity, oxidation, and even those nasty fish burps that those lower quality fish oils have. Add omega-3s to your regimen, especially as you get older. Puori is offering 20% off of their O3 Ultra Pure Fish Oil and all their fantastic products to Heal Thyself listeners. That's 20% off of the even already discounted subscription price. Go to Puori.com/DRG, use the code DRG for 20% off the already discounted subscription price. That is PUORI.com/DRG. And again, I said before, high omega-6 foods. It's not just those meats, the saturated fats, the bacons, the meats, the red meats of the world, but it's also the oils, right? I think we've gone really crazy over seed oils, but I can say that there are certain seed oils that are high in omega-6s. corn oil, sunflower oil, soybean oil. These are high omega-6 oils, and they can lead to an imbalance of the omega-3 to omega-6 ratio. And a high intake of omega-6 relative to omega-3s can lead to an inflammatory state in the body. So then naturally you ask, what foods can help reduce inflammation and improve psoriasis? Well, naturally, I got the answers for you. Okay, so fatty fish, for sure, you want to get more omega-3s in the body. Salmon, mackerel, sardines, tuna, trout, right? These fish are rich in omega-3s, and that's an anti-inflammatory property. It's going on the other side of the scale, omega-3 to omega-6. You want more omega-3s. Fruits and vegetables, we know that. Berries, strawberries, leafy green spinach, kale, carrots, sweet potatoes, broccoli, and bell peppers, right? Bell peppers are actually some of those nightshades, but think about it. Which fruits and which vegetables work well for your body, right? Like if your gut is a mess, which we're going to go into for healing from psoriasis, but if your gut is a mess and none of those, all vegetables, all fruits don't work with your body, it might not be that it doesn't work with your body. It might not be that your gut's a mess and it's not now working with your body, but at the optimal state, you should be able to eat a lot of these foods without an issue. Okay. Fruits and vegetables are high in the antioxidants. We know that. Vitamins, minerals, but they're all going to combat inflammation. They're also high in fiber, helping the gut. We're going to get into the gut stuff for psoriasis, but also reducing inflammation. Thinking about whole grains, brown rice, quinoa, oats, right? These are the things that are high in fiber. Foods high in fiber, reducing inflammation. You want to think about the name of the game, stabilizing your blood sugar levels, not eating a muffin, spiking it, and then you're having psoriasis getting worse, not enough fiber. You want to stabilize your blood sugar levels. Getting nuts and seeds, seeing which ones work for you. I like walnuts, flax seeds, chia seeds, almonds. You want to get the good omega-3 ones, not some actually nuts that are higher in omega-6. You want the good omega-3 ones. But talking about omega-3s, olive oil is a fantastic intervention for psoriasis. Not necessarily cooking with it. You can if you want, but not too high. But really putting it on a lot of the salads, a lot of your food. Olive oil contains a lot of monounsaturated fats and antioxidants, which are anti-inflammatory. They reduce inflammation and support your overall health. And when you eat meats, if you do, thinking about more lean ones, right? The chickens, the turkeys of the world, tofus, legumes for sure, getting in protein in the form of legumes, beans, lentils. These are really going to help you as far as inflammation. And we know that treating psoriasis can be difficult, it can be demanding, it can be a regimen. But when I think about treating psoriasis, I think of the gut, I think of the environment that you're in, and I think of the nervous system, and I think of quality supplements. These are the approaches, and it takes a long time to really find out what works for you. It may take a short time for you, but in my experience, it takes a long time. But let's start with the gut, start with the food, not only making interventions I mentioned above for the food, but creating a mind-body connection. I just mentioned this. What foods does your body want? Stop listening to all these nutrition people. Stop listening to me. What foods does your body want? Listen to your body, close your eyes and eat the food and see how your body feels. Is it accepting or rejecting the food? In that moment, whatever's true for you, it's okay if someone says the best food out there is flax seeds for psoriasis and your body completely closes up when you're having it. Listen to your truth before. Okay, so create that mind-body connection. When it comes to healing, I just mentioned the gut. Huge. One of the main causes that we're seeing for any autoimmune disease, it doesn't matter if it's psoriasis, is gut health. You got to remove, there's a 4R program. I'm going to tell you this, I'm going to tell you once. 4R program, okay? We got to remove the crap. Eliminate the harmful substances that are negatively impacting your gut health, right? So that could be dietary triggers, right? So everyone, I recommend doing an elimination diet if you have psoriasis, and you can easily Google a full diet, a full way to do it, but essentially you're identifying and removing the common allergens and irritants. They might be gluten, they might be dairy, they might be soy, they might be corn, they might be processed foods, it might be meat. This step helps you reduce inflammation and allows your gut to heal. It systematically, by removing foods in your diet, you're actually finding what's causing you adverse reactions. You're identifying the trigger foods, right? And again, it could even be eggs or nuts, right? But for a period of 2 to 4 weeks, you're just identifying which ones are affecting you. And during this time, you're observing and recording any changes to identify these sensitivities. And after that elimination phase, you do a slow, gradual reintroduction of each food one at a time. That usually takes like 3 to 5 days per food, but you're going to monitor for symptoms, right? You can evaluate which foods are affecting you, which ones are causing adverse reactions, which ones are making you itchy, which ones are causing redness on your skin, which ones are giving you gut issues, which ones are giving you brain fog. You're going to notice that not all foods that you were eating are deemed healthy are for you. And that's creating a more tailored plan. So if you haven't done this, just Google elimination diet, look at a PDFs from, a university or somebody or a doctor who published it, and just look through it and feel into it and really start integrating it maybe into the next month and seeing how it helps. Doing a deep dive will really, really help you. And you might notice that some of the good, healthy foods, quote unquote, are not foods that are good and healthy for you. So really important, right? So you're not only removing the foods that are affecting you in a harmful way, but you're also removing the pathogens. And this is an important step because a lot of you don't know that your immune system is overreacting for years at a time because there's this pathogen that just keeps surviving everything you're doing and growing and having babies and growing and having babies and growing for years upon years. This is the step where your naturopathic or functional doctor puts you on antimicrobials. And these are the ones that can be natural or even prescription that eliminate bacteria, right? That could be driving it, yeast that could be driving it, even parasites that could be driving your psoriasis. The natural options may be something like a garlic or oregano oil or berberine or caprylic acid, but they're going to have to use diagnostic tools to see what's happening in your gut and what's growing and how do we treat it. So really, really important step is just removing all that crap, the foods and the infections. Replacing, this is a very important step now. Now you're restoring digestive function. Here's where you're optimizing your digestive function. You're bringing in digestive enzymes. They're breaking down proteins, fats, carbohydrates. They're ensuring better nutrition absorption. Here's where you might have the supportive stomach acid, betaine, HCl, help you break down foods more efficient, right? Especially if you have gut issues already, but it also might be important for you in killing a lot of these bugs, a lot of these microbes that are causing issues over and over. Might even be recommendation of something called bile salts, really important in the digestion and absorption of fats. Now, number 3 is reinoculating. A lot of people go straight to doing probiotics when their gut feels a mess, or straight to probiotics when I have psoriasis or something like that, right? But the truth is, you really want to do those first 2 steps, right? You want to heal that gut. You want to take away all of that stuff. You want to support, you want to repair it, and then you reinoculate. First, you want to really get rid of those foods that are harming you, those microbes that are evading the immune system and harming you. You want to replace, you want to get in the good stuff that is supporting your organs. And now you are ready to introduce things like probiotics. This is the reintroduction phase. You're bringing in high quality probiotic supplements, evidence-based ones that have lactobacillus, bifidobacterium, maybe Saccharomyces boulardii. These are beneficial bacteria that are helping crowd out all of those harmful microbes and supporting your immune function. This is where you're bringing in more fermented foods like yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi, kombucha into your diet. You're bringing in prebiotic foods, right? The ones that are really rich in that fiber that's supporting your gut, like garlic, onions, leeks, asparagus, bananas, chicory root. These are prebiotic foods that are beneficial to the bacteria that are beneficial to you. And now, as a 4th phase, now you're repairing, you're healing the gut lining. You're reducing the inflammation, right? This is where you hear things like leaky gut and things like that. Now you're bringing in the L-glutamine, right? That is healing the enterocytes, the cells in the lining of the gut. You might take zinc carnosine. It's a combination of zinc and L-carnosine that helps protect and heal the gut lining, reducing inflammation, supporting that integrity of the gut. Omega-3 fatty acids, here's where they can really help at reducing the gut inflammation. Herbs like aloe vera can help reduce gut inflammation. Herbs like deglycerinated licorice can help soothe and heal the gut lining. High antioxidants, eating some vitamin C. Maybe you supplement that with vitamin E, lots of polyphenols. These are really, really important. This is where you might even have bone broth, more collagen, more gelatin, more amino acids, and helping your gut. This is a really, really important point, is that you got to do all those things before you start repairing the lining of the gut. You don't just treat leaky gut. You do all those things first to make sure you're in a good place while doing those stress reduction techniques like meditation and yoga, deep breathing, regular exercise. You want to move your body, drinking enough water, sleeping enough. It's a full integrational program. And if you haven't done it for yourself, you really got to start looking for a naturopathic or functional doctor. Naturopathic at naturopathic.org, functionalifm.org. Find someone near you who can support you through this program. So psoriasis is a chronic autoimmune condition. We know that. It's a rapid building up of cells and there's scaling and there's environmental stressors. We have to really think about what in our environment is affecting us. It's first a psychological stress. what's happening is it's affecting the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. And what's happening is this HPA axis is leading to cortisol release and other stress hormones. And the feedback isn't reducing the signals to release it. And so you're getting more cortisol and more stress hormone, and that's going to affect your immune system. Chronic stress is going to cause immune dysregulation, psychoneuroimmunology. You have to really think about that. And it's going to increase the production of those pro-inflammatory cytokines, all of the ones that are associated with psoriasis. It's going to affect the skin barrier function. Stress can impair that barrier and make it more susceptible to irritations and infections. Big problem, infections. We know that there's physical stress in the form of infections. I mentioned that before. Streptococcal throat infections. If you had strep throat, can be the number one cause for a lot of people, their psoriasis, right? It's going to trigger this immune response that exacerbates psoriasis. Yeah, it can even make it worse if you have psoriasis. So really important. We know that the climate and weather can affect it. That's another physical stress, especially dryness and cracking, or even too much sunlight, physical stress. Internal stress, physical stress, smoking, alcohol, we mentioned that before. Physical trauma, we mentioned that before. It's called the Koebner phenomenon. There's cuts, scrapes, or burns can actually trigger psoriatic lesions. We mentioned the stress of having a diet that doesn't really go with your body. Again, leading to more psoriasis. Nutritional deficiencies, right? Not getting enough omega-3s in the body, not enough vitamin D, not enough antioxidants. And I want you to think about the environmental stress in your home, right? That's in itself a stressor to the body. If you're in a moldy home, that's going to perpetuate psoriasis, I promise you. It may be the cause, or it may be perpetuating it over time. If you're in a home that has a lot of volatile organic chemicals, compounds, right? You have a lot of things that you open up and smell really strong outside of the package, and they're just off-gassing in your house, right? The furnitures, the tables, the curtains, right? And then you're spraying these perfumes and plugins. All these things are going to affect you, right? So really, really important. Like, you got to take an audit of your life. What's in your home that is causing your psoriasis? But really, really even more important than that, and I'm going to tell you this, is the emotional part. There's a psychological part to disease. And I actually believe most diseases are going to have a psychological component. Now, if you are struggling with an autoimmune disease, there's a trauma, most likely in your life. Most likely there was a trauma or a series of trauma or an unsafe environment that you grew up in that caused you to repress a lot of you. And that repression is a stress on your nervous system. And that nervous system in the state of repression and contraction is having a deleterious effect on your immune system. Your immune system is not functioning the way it's supposed to by way of your nervous system, by way of trauma, period. So if you've done all of the things that I just said and you're like, wow, I did everything that Dr. G said up until this point, then it's emotional. Then your psoriasis is being perpetuated by emotions. If you haven't done all the things, go do all those things and see where you're at. If your psoriasis is fully healed, then great. It's mostly gut stuff, but we really, really have to think about the emotional component. I would say psoriasis is 33% gut, maybe even more, 33% environment, and 33% emotional. For some people more than the others. But those are the major, major pillars. And if you're not right in your expression, if you're holding it in and you know what you're holding in, like if you take a moment and stop distracting yourself from all the ways that you distract yourself and actually look at yourself and close your eyes and feel into your body, you know what you're holding in, and you know why you're holding it in, and you know who you're holding it in against. None of those details matter. It's just a matter of, are you holding it in? Oftentimes, psoriasis is connected to fear and anger. People who are really having a lot of trouble expressing anger and people who have a lot of trouble expressing fear. And those are the two major emotions that are connected to psoriasis. Overexpression of this worry, overexpression of this rage that doesn't come out, that is so on the surface, but still being pushed down actively still for many years. And if any of part of those words, especially in the emotional part, touches your heart as true, listen to it. It's not like, oh, wow, that rings true. No, your body's talking to you, right? And then the last part is quality of supplements. You want to think about having good quality supplements. Vitamin D deficiency is major for psoriasis and severity. Several studies found that individuals with psoriasis have lower levels of vitamin D compared to those without the condition. Lower levels of vitamin D have been associated with increased severity of psoriasis. Vitamin D's role in skin health we know that across science. Vitamin D plays a crucial role in skin growth, repair, metabolism. It's anti-inflammatory. Vitamin D is essential, right? And it's going to help your immune system as well. Clinical studies have shown in different meta-analyses that vitamin D supplementation can improve psoriasis in many patients. Its improvement is likely due to vitamin D's role in regulating skin production and its overall anti-inflammatory effect throughout the whole body, right? So sun is your friend until it's not. Don't get sunburned, okay? Fish oil, we know that omega-3s, really important. Is why I talk so much about fish oils, especially people with autoimmune disease. We want more anti-inflammatories. Omega-3 fatty acids, EPA, DHA found in fish oil are strong anti-inflammatories. Clinical studies have shown over and over that these omega-3s help reduce the severity of psoriasis in some patients. We want to make sure we're taking probiotics that are evidence-based, especially in that step for bringing in probiotics. That's the gut-skin axis. Yes, there's a gut-skin axis. And the state of your gut oftentimes is reflected in the state of your skin. So some studies actually indicate that good probiotic strains, quality ones like the lactobacillus and bifidobacterium, improve psoriasis symptoms by modulating the immune system, reducing inflammation. You want to make sure that you're getting quality ones. You also want to make sure you're getting it in food, right? Yogurts, kefir, sauerkraut. Curcumin's a great one. Curcumin's active component it is the active component in turmeric. Curcumin is the active component in turmeric, and it's a potent anti-inflammatory. It's antioxidant. Research shows that it can improve psoriasis in dosages of 500 to 2,000 milligrams per day. Curcumin supplements are really important for those with psoriasis. Aloe is another good one. You can drink it. You can put it topically on the psoriasis. You can apply it as needed, right? Talk to your healthcare provider with any of these supplements, of course, as you know. Low B12, a lot of people with psoriasis may be suffering from. You want to make sure that if you have the NTHFR mutation, you're getting the activated form of B12 methylcobalamin and not the inactive cyanocobalamin. So just thinking about that, if you've taken B12 or your doctor said your B12 is really low and you have that genetic mutation, or you just want to be safe, you can go with the methylcobalamin. That'll be really helpful at reducing the severity and inflammation of psoriasis. Topically, it can actually be really helpful too. Yeah, they have topical creams. And zinc. I wouldn't say taking zinc at high doses for a long time is necessarily healthy, but some studies show that zinc supplementation may actually help psoriasis symptoms at 15 to 30 milligrams per day. Don't go higher than 40. But you can also get it from meats, shellfish, legumes, and seeds, making sure, remember, you're getting more of those lean meats that are not high in omega-3. So listen, psoriasis peeps, I know what it feels like. I know everything. You have to say it. I'm reading your mind right now, and I really hope this helped, right? So go back, look at what you've done, write it out if you need to. I'm a writer. I have to write things out and see it. Look at what you've done. Look at what you're missing. Look at what you want to try. What do you have the capacity to try, the budget to try, and get in there, right? Get in there. If you haven't done the emotional part, which actually probably most of you haven't, because your doctor definitely isn't talking to you about it, the emotional part would be so important. Look at the emotional part of that fear and that worry and that anger that exists in a lot of people with autoimmune disease, or the trauma we hold in the form of repressed emotions over and over that is stressing our nervous system and ultimately stressing our immune system, and now ultimately stressing our skin. I love you all. I really hope this helped. I finally, after 10 years, psoriasis is getting better, and it's been a long journey, but finally it's reversing. And I wanted to finally share this podcast, and I took a long time to do it because I didn't want to talk as someone who's still suffering with it. I wanted to talk as someone who's still reversing it. And I still believe to this day, it's moving out of a moldy house. It's dealing with anger. It's dealing with fear. It's being the full expression of myself. The emotional part was actually the biggest part. And doing some gut healing, definitely. Tested for H. pylori, treated that, rebalanced my gut. Definitely did a lot of gut stuff too, but that's been many years worth. The emotional part was actually the thing that really helped. Listen, I love you all. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening to the show. Share it with somebody who has psoriasis, or really, it doesn't even matter. Share it with someone who has autoimmune disease.